Hmm.
Christopher, you let us know when it's streaming, please.
It's going. You're live.
Are we? I don't see it yet. We're live. Hi, everyone. It is really wonderful to be here with you. Happy Thursday, whether you're here with us live on the Great Energy Podcast or if you're watching us on replay. My name is Daniela, and I've been so looking forward to this conversation really since December. So I'm so happy to introduce Mary Porter Kerns to you. Welcome, Mary.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad that you reached out and found me, and I've just loved your enthusiasm and your offer of support and getting to know what you all are doing. This is just really fabulous. I love getting to know people.
Oh, well, I have to, first of all, a big thank you to Kelly, who's one of the members of our community. I I want to say it was within the last year. I think she maybe forwarded one of your articles or something and just, oh, I just hung on every word.
Yeah.
I loved you're a flower mystic in my world. So I'm so excited to unpack this and to dive in. Um, so Mary, why don't you tell our friends that are here with us a little bit about your personal journey, which has brought you to where you are now.
Hold on just a second. I've got
Sure thing.
my power on my computer. I just realized is not.
Oopsie.
Oh dear. It's telling me low battery, which means I'm so sorry. I just
Oh,
realized,
no worries.
and it's not, I know, but
Do you have the a cord handy?
yeah, I mean, yesterday it was working fine. Oh no. Um,
Well, we can just pause and we'll just get that taken care of.
yeah, let me do that. Let me run up and get another cord. I've got a backup cord. I'm so sorry.
I'll chat with everyone while you're getting the cord. No worries.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Take your time. Hi, friends. Let me know if you're here with me live right now. I see
Wait,
that
here it
you're.
is.
Oh, you got it. Yay.
I have, if it works. Give me one
Okay.
second.
Christopher's probably here with us live. Christopher, are you one of our live viewers?
Ah, whew. Okay. All right,
Woohoo!
we're good. Good.
Okay, awesome.
All right. So sorry for the interruption.
It is totally okay. Yeah, so for anyone that's just joining us right now, hi Becky. Oh, I'm so glad you're here with us. You're gonna love Mary, Becky. So hang in if you can or pop back. Um, so Mary, tell us a little bit about your journey with the magic and the intimacy of the flower world.
You know, it's grown, I realize now it's grown really slowly through my whole life. But when it really started escalating was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I just knew that there was like something else, like there was this hurdle that was having trouble crossing, and I have always loved plants. And I took an intuitive plant medicine course from Asia Suler, and she had a lot of different ways of connecting with plants and various intuitive things. And one of them was making flower essences, and we made the flower essences. And the suggestion was to sit with them and do a meditation and do an attunement. And I sat down and did that. And this message came through, and it's like, whoa, that's really intense. And so I was just on fire. I mean, I spent the next several months making a lot of flower essences. And at the time, I thought I needed to make the essence and then put the essence on my body to receive the message. And I've learned since that that's not really necessary at all. I just need to be in the presence of the flower, either not even necessarily physically, although if I've been with them physically at some point in my life, it's helpful. Um, but really just bringing them into my imagination and my heart, and I can begin to connect with them. And but so that started happening that first year, and these messages would come through, and I thought I knew they were more than just me, but I also thought everybody's going to think I'm crazy. So it took me a long time to get comfortable with that. But gradually I would start talking to, my close friends, and they'd be so encouraging, and the circle just kept getting bigger. And those first flowers I worked with, I had taken pictures, and I would just laminate the pictures. They were all different sizes. They weren't even, it was just a jumble, but I would lay them out and ask people like, which one are you drawn to? And then read the message that had come to me. And that was getting a lot of traction and interest from people. And then somebody said to me, you need to make an oracle deck. I'm like, huh. And anyway, 2 years later, I had an oracle deck that had kind of poured, well, kind of, it did pour through me. Yeah. And it's just grown from there. It has been um, something that hasn't let go of me. It's just compelling, and the flowers. I'm just so honored that they want to speak through me. And what I've really learned is that they speak to everyone. This is not just a special gift I have. They're really very strongly telling me anybody can do this. And so I feel that my biggest calling is to be a, a guide or just someone that helps other people slow down enough to listen and connect with the flowers and all the natural world, really. But the flowers are really key for me. Um, I know it's so important that we do this to reconnect with the natural world. And, a lot of people connect with animals, but it's just beginning to become in more and more people's consciousness that flowers really are not just something that's pretty, that they actually have wisdom and intelligence to offer us, and guidance and feedback for where we are, and guidance for our own lives. And more than that, guidance for how to make it through all the craziness that's going on in our life, how to step back and see the bigger picture and learn to revere nature again like we used to, like our ancestors did. It's just critical, I think.
Mary, let's take a walk back through history, right? At
And
and tell us a little bit about through a historical context the role and placement and importance of flowers in our ecosystem. And we can go back to the beginning of flowers dreaming us into existence. So just dive in wherever you like. And friends, we're going to talk about this. Mary has a fantastic I call it a mini course because I sometimes a course can almost sound like, oh, can I fit a course in? But this is a bite size enough. I think it's 5 sessions, right? 5 or 6 sessions
I've
that starts on Tuesday, all about the flowers are speaking. So let's go back in history and tell us a story about the flowers.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is where the workshop starts as well. And when you say go back in history, I was starting to say how far, because
Let's go back to the origin of the dream of us,
right. I
just of
mean,
us being dreamed into existence, just
I
that.
mean, it's the hardest thing really is to understand how long the flowers have been around, like 100, 150 million years. And human beings, Homo sapiens as we know them, maybe 300,000 years. And maybe our ancestors 5 or 7 million years,
I used to be a Montessori educator many chapters ago, and there was this exercise we did and the children loved it. And
uh
you would take a timeline, you would get this long white piece of paper that extended out the classroom all the way down the hall of the entire school. And at the very tip of the white line that white line that went miles and miles was just a little black line. And that was the
that
how
was us.
humans have been here, right? In
Yeah.
comparison.
And I love that you took it down the hall. I mean, I remember that
Oh,
being drawn like on the blackboard, but
oh
not
no,
all the way down the hall.
they had to
Yeah.
cut the paper and tape it together and to get that many. So it took them all day to do it. So it was
That's
so they got the somatic experience of the
yeah.
well.
That's really good. I love that.
Hmm.
Because to think that they have figured out how to live through an incredible number of much greater climate fluctuations than we're experiencing now. And they figured out how to bring their lives through it, and how to change and how to adapt, and how much they can help us do the same. Yeah, and our hubris to think that we have to figure this all out on our own, and we've forgotten, so our human ancestors, up until 10,000 years ago. So from, let's just use that 300,000 number, as our Homo sapien history, but really we've only been writing and having civilization for 10,000 years. So all that time before that, our ancestors were in such um, deep contact with the natural world, and it's like we have become so reliant on our mind, which is such a great tool, but we've forgotten all of our intuitive ways of knowing, all of our heart connection, our emotional ways of connecting, um, and being open to a myriad of different ways of connecting with the world, other than our scientific mind, which is a great tool, as I said, and it's helping us. I think it's starting to come full circle because the science is starting to finally accept and do some, valid scientific studies that are showing that the plants are intelligent. It's in the, bare beginning stages, but at least they're finally starting to talk about it. Thank goodness. And so then when we can get our scientific mind happy that our culture has been so deeply embedded in for the last, 300, 500 years. And that's the way we're taught and the way we were brought up. So it's important to get that part of our mind happy so it can go sit in the corner and and then let us start to connect with the flowers and all of the other ways that they connect with us through our senses and through our heart and our imagination and our intuition. Yeah, yeah, the history. What else about the history? I mean, I jumped over a lot, but yeah, that's the gist of it.
And so tell us a little bit about what participants can look forward to in your course. And one of the things I really appreciate on the registration page is that there is um, participants are entrusted to select the tuition offering that really fits their finances and their budget. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
always appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the genesis of this course. What is the intention of who is this for, and what are some of the things that participants can look forward to?
Yeah. Well, I think it's for anyone and everyone, of course, but the people that are interested have, some kind of interest in plants and flowers. I think, um, but it's for anyone that wants to slow down and get in deeper touch with not only with the plants but with themselves. It's a two-way communication that you receive information, and just like any intuitive practice, you always learn something about yourself as well as learning about the plants and the flowers themselves. Um, and I'm always amazed. Every single person that's ever been in my workshops has been able to receive a message from the flowers, and some of them to their amazement, and some of them are just like, well, of course, I've always been able to hear with the flowers. But most people that come to my workshops are like, I don't know, well, does this really work? But just a willingness to explore their intuition and their heart and explore some different ways of communicating with the world around us than we typically do. That's all, just a willingness and an interest and a desire to find a deeper connection with the flowers and the natural world around us. And so in the course, so it's 5 weeks. So the first week we talk about our evolutionary history with flowers in a lot greater depth than I just did. And then the second week we really dive into the science, the actual science um, that is being explored now by the scientists, and giving examples and things they've found out, and lots of aha moments. So again, it like gets our mind comfortable with like there really is something here going on. This isn't just completely a quote unquote woo-woo idea that is off the walls. And then the third week, we really start to talk a lot more about our intuition and our imagination and how the flowers really connect with us through those realms. And then the fourth and the fifth week, we're actually doing the practice and receiving the messages with the flowers and such. And I will say, I've had a couple people ask, well, it's wintertime. There's not any flowers around me right now. Well, have you ever, like, do you have a picture of your favorite flower from last summer? Do you? I've got pictures that we use in the class. And you could even buy a flower in the store, although those poor flowers have, been grown in a hothouse and really not as connected, perhaps, with um, their roots as some of the, flowers that grow in your garden or the flowers that grow out in the wild. But they all work. They all still have a message because even those flowers in the store um, still remember who they are and they still want to connect with us. So,
Sometimes they look like a little wilted and sad, and those are always the ones I want to buy because I
right,
nobody else is
right,
going to want you, so we'll
right.
take you home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite flower stories or messages or that you could be willing to share?
Ah, well, let's see. Um, I mean, I have so many. Um, I'll do two. So, magnolia was one of the very, very first flowers that ever spoke to me. When I look back, they've been in my life for, since I was in maybe not my whole life, maybe not since my teens that I really met a magnolia, but they've been a very significant flower for me. And I talk about that in my book. Um, but it's when I first sat with them after I'd started this process, they were like the second or third flower I'd sat with. And I mean, I could just feel the invitation to literally, like I imagine myself being small, so I could like literally crawl into their flower and curl up with them. And their scent just the incredible fragrance that they have just seeping into my skin and into my pores, and it was just such an incredibly embodied experience. And I got this sense of how very, very old they are. They're one of the very oldest flowers, so they're like a great, I call them the great grandflower. And I just had this really physical sense of how old they are, like just lines of millions and millions and millions of magnolias, the same way we would think about our millions or thousands of grandmothers going back and back and back. And um, and then especially when I started to learn more about their history, and I could just see them morphing and changing and moving all over the world this was even before they've been around longer than since the continents have moved and reformed and just traveling around the whole world. I don't know. It's hard to actually put words to how deeply I felt that experience in my heart. Yeah, it was really that was it was a primordial love story, and their ultimate message with me was about unconditional love. Yeah.
Mm.
So, um, the other story I thought I'd share, um, let's see. So last year, there's a flower that's been in my yard for many years called Callianthus, and it's grown up into this huge bush that is so happy where it is, and it's in a space that is not big enough to get the space is not big enough for it to get as big as it wants to get. And so I have to trim it back. And I think I realized this summer that I was really carrying guilt about having to cut it back all the time. And so because I had to cut it back, I think I had resisted actually sitting down with it and doing getting a connection with it and hearing their message and what they had to share with me. And so when I did, when I realized that, it's like, oh, okay, it's time to hear what you have to say. And I don't have it memorized off the top of my head what they said, but it was along the lines of don't fear the pruning. And that happened a week before that I found out that I was going to have some surgery myself. And, without going into that whole story, you might imagine how powerful that was for me. And so it just, it really surprised me that they were that big of a messenger for me when I had resisted them for quite a while. And so that's another kind of different flavor of a story that I thought it would be fun to share.
Hmm. Mary, I imagine you very likely have a garden space or a garden on your
I
property.
do. I do. You'd be surprised. It's not the most gorgeous garden you've ever seen. It's rather wild. And I
I
used
was
to
imagining wild, and the question that was on my mind was, how do you approach, right? We're raised in a culture that looks at this is what I want growing in my garden, and these other plants, and you have of someone with such reverence for the plant world. Then there's what people call weeds, right? My husband brought the language of they're volunteers in
right,
that's from
right,
the gardening world. They call not everyone calls them weeds. Some call them
right,
volunteers. So what
right.
I was wondering, I'm like, how does Mary Porter Kearns weed her garden?
Well, you do have to make boundaries sometimes. It's a thing.
So what's the
For-
process or the dialogue or
yeah.
how do you do that?
Ah. Well, first of all, thank you for being here. And, some of you are going to have to go somewhere else. I mean, ah, flowers they're much more of a plural being than we are,
No, tell me more about that.
So, well, first of all, plants can lose, 95% of their whole body and still live. Whereas, obviously we can't, you know, that's a very plant thing. Their whole way of being, because they can't run away like an animal, their body has evolved to be able to have an animal eat, either harvest some of it like we do, or an animal just chomp it down to the ground and then it can regrow. And so, and they grow in communities and they make seeds, and I think I look at them as now as like living sometimes below the ground and sometimes above the ground, and it I can go into this a lot more in my class, but they're just a much more plural being than we are. And I think they're so generous and giving that, to somebody said, well, how do you even cut flowers and take them in your house? Well, I think that's something that they were like, oh, you love me enough to take, us into your house. And, sure. And, they're honored that we do that, I think. But I got a little off track.
I was asking about weeding and what's the process
Yeah.
for.
So I mean, when I'm waiting, I'm just like, it's you got to have boundaries. I don't have a problem with boundaries. So I'll give you a story. So one year, I love Queen Anne's lace and I love chicory, and they grow by the roadside like weeds, right? And but I didn't have any in my yard because I have it's basically a deer park, and then I have a 25 by 25 area that I have fenced in, that everything that the deer will eat, I try to keep in there. And it's always this battle. But so anyway, and they love chicory and Queen Anne's lace, so they won't grow outside. So anyway, I got some seeds, and so I'm just going to plant some in my garden one year. Well, they love my garden, and it was great. I only put them in half of one bed. Well, they took over that whole bed, and then by the next year they were taking over the whole garden, and it was like, guys, I love you, but you got to share. And so, it's like they have a season. Like, so that first year when, I mean, they had this incredible, garden full of chicory, and they were just gorgeous, but that was like their year. And then, I asked them like, okay, you got to chill. And it's sort of, they didn't even come up quite as strong. And then I'm like, I'm going to take some of you all and give you to some other people and move you around. And you got to make room for other people. And so it was a time for a season for something else to be, to have their big bloom year. So I don't know if it
Well,
makes any sense. I just,
yeah, no, it absolutely
and
does.
it is interesting because I gardened in the traditional way for a long time before I came that way. So I have these old habits of like, oh, well, we got to weed that and we got to do that. But fortunately, I've gotten busy with the writing of my book and my husband wants me to go places with them, and I didn't have time to take care of the garden the way I used to. And so I just started planting things that would take care of themselves and letting them do what they wanted. And it's always it's always just a big surprise what comes up and what will grow. And I stuff stuff in, and a lot of times it's too close and too much, but somebody wins out and grows better than the others. And
That's what we do with sunflowers. The directions are very
yeah,
clear, 6 to 12 inches apart, and we're like, let's put like 50,000 and
right.
see what happens. And it's always like a ridiculous adventure. And it's so,
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. I just don't think there's any hard and fast rules to this. You just do what feels right.
What
And
has surprised you the most in your journey with the flowers? What's something that like, you think, wow, that really surprised me?
oh, that they talk to me. But
I
I
don't,
know
are they
you're asking a
physical?
deeper question.
Is
Yeah.
there wisdom, their messages to you? Have they been everything from the very straightforward practical, like earth-based simple directions to
Yeah.
a more contemplative nature?
Yeah, they're they're usually like, yeah, I don't think they're practical like, hey, well, I don't know. Hey, plant me. Yeah, sometimes I get those kind of messages. Sometimes it's like just a recognition of where I am. Like I for instance, I've got a gorgeous, huge lavender plant, and I started realizing one day, it's like, wow, they're really fragrant today. And then I realized I'm really upset today. And then, I mean, after I noticed that for several times, it's like, wow, there's a correlation here. Like they're more fragrant when I'm more emotional. It's crazy. It's like they know, like your pet, your dog would know your cat knows when you're upset. It's like my lavender plant knows when I'm upset. um,
Wow,
and
that's
that's pretty crazy. But if animals can sense our emotions, why can't plants? So maybe that's one of the really big ones, because this is how they connect with us, is helping us, like stimulating our emotions and our memories, and who knows really what else is really, going on when messages come through.
beautiful.
Um, it's that world that we don't have the language to describe, because we've been raised in such a culture, a logic, one, two, three, linear type of culture. Yeah. Um,
Is there anything that really like blew your mind in the realm of the science of what we're learning about plants, whether it's how they communicate or how they listen?
yeah. Well, just that they actually have a scientific study that says the flowers are like the plant's ears.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. You wrote a really beautiful article that was on your Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one that's really easy because it makes so much sense. Well, of course, a flower is kind of like an ear. You can see how it focuses the sound, but it's more than that. I mean, they can hear, like when a bee comes close, and when the bee comes close, they make more nectar and more fragrance, and to draw that bee to them. But it gets even, a lot more complex than that. I mean, okay, let me just kind of step aside. I think the primary way that they communicate with their world and is with, I mean, we would call them fragrances and smells, but there's a whole, like, thousands of chemicals that they put out that don't have a smell, or at least not one that we can smell. And so the scientific world calls them VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, which is like a really yucky name. We need a more poetic word for this these molecules that they use to connect with each other. And I mean, think about it, that's their language. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of these VOCs, and that's their language. And so when you think about that, it's not just sounds that are formed into words like we use. They actually communicate with these chemicals. And that we've, determined scientifically, that everybody's learned now that trees communicate through their roots and the mycelial networks, because that's been so well publicized since Suzanne Simard did her work. But it's so much deeper than that. And I think we're just beginning to barely understand how much and how deep that communication is. Um, and we've also learned that when the air is polluted, that it distorts those chemical signals and they struggle to communicate as well, which makes sense too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was 2 summers ago now. I went with a couple of my dear girlfriends, Lori and Helmea. We went and Renee on the Camino walk.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my favorite part of that trip, I had many favorites. One of my favorites was on this one section, don't even remember where, there were all these vineyards and they plant roses at the end of each row. For some reason, the dance, I'll just call it the dance between the roses and the grapes, creates something magical. And I'll never forget how Maya and I, in particular, we literally smelled like every rose. It dragged out an 8 mile day, probably like much longer. And what blew our minds was how every rose, even on the same plant, smelled different. They were the same color, some were different hues, but there was none smelled like the other. Like we weren't like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was so astounding. And then she said
Wow.
something also that was really beautiful to me. She said one of her mentors taught her that just even if you think a flower doesn't have a scent or smell, that it does. And some people that have really developed olfactory senses, they can
Mhm.
smell things that a lot of people can't.
Yeah.
And it's so subtle, like so
Right.
subtle. It was
Yeah.
so amazing. And so
Yeah.
we played that game through our Camino journey of smelling the flowers people said didn't have a scent.
Right. They do. And I mean some people have long said that humans don't have as much smell as other animals do, but what it really is that we don't give it any credit and we don't practice it and we don't even have words for smells.
Yes.
Okay, like color, we have words for. Like this is yellow. We don't say this is the color of a lemon. We say this is yellow. But we have very few words that are directly a smell word, like three or four, and that's it. There are indigenous cultures that have many more direct words for smells. But you're right. So those people that have that highly developed sense of smell, they probably started off with a pretty good nose to begin with, and then followed their intuition and listened to it. But we're taught that smell is of no consequence in our culture, that it's all, seeing and hearing, and we just don't. So our sense of smell is directly connected to our oldest part of our brain, where our emotions and our memories lie. Of course, everybody kind of knows that because we know how emotions trigger those memories. But uh, it probably shouldn't have gone down this road because I'm forgetting some of the facts to
That's
make
okay.
connects
That's
the
okay.
dots. But the our the I'm sorry. There's a woman that's written a book, Rachel Hers, who's written a book called The Scent of Desire, I think. And she talks about how um, this, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm sorry. But
Okay.
the essence of it is that our emotions and our sense of smell are so, can you hear that?
It just, let's see, it's like a little bit of an echo kind of started.
Okay, sorry. It's like my car's in the garage started making the horns going off, but I think my husband will be on it. I don't know. So, anyways, if it's not interrupting us too much, that's good.
No, it's very mild.
Yeah. Okay. Jeez. So, woo. Okay. Then I couldn't think at all. That was weird. But our emotions and our sense of smell are so directly connected. There's something there about how we connect with with the flowers. And I go into that more in my class, but I'm sorry, I'd have to have my notes to do a proper explanation of it.
It just is, I completely
Yeah,
understand. Yeah. It's
yeah,
just it's so powerful. The smell as a modality to facilitate healing and
yeah,
um
yeah.
connection with
Yeah, I think it's her. She talks about how our sense of smell developed, our emotions developed. I'm sorry, this is it. How our emotions developed out of our sense of smell. It's
mm,
like we have emotions more than we use our sense of smell, and they're intricately connected and actually developed out of one, our emotions developed out of our smell. That's the heart of what.
oh, that's really powerful.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Maybe I needed the beeping to pull that together for you.
Yeah, every like life is pretty amazing. Can we
Right.
there wasn't a flower around to give you the message, so it had to come in the car.
Oh gosh.
Lavender tried, and it was like
Lavender tried. That's right. It was
the Cadillac.
That's great. That's great.
Um, I I yesterday I had the great honor of completing some time with one of my a really precious client. We had worked together for some time and when your time together is complete, it's complete. And it's always beautiful, right? Like this person, they are standing within their own center and they're really on their own feet, and it's beautiful. And at the end, it, I see flowers often in my field, in the joy of healing work. They're often present, or they'll show up and bring nectar to someone, especially in energy work and Reiki work. And at yesterday, I was stumbling over my own words saying goodbye because the field filled with, and I couldn't think of the name of the flower until I saw you and the name came right in. It's not a complicated or unusual flower, but I couldn't find it. I kept thinking, was it peonies? Is it or is it poppy? Is it begonia? But it was peonies. And as we were saying goodbye, peonies, how they'll bloom and you think, oh my gosh, this is the most bloomiest bloomy flower I've ever seen. It can't possibly bloom more. And
Yeah.
then the next day, it's bloomed even more. And then it's bloomed even more. It's like this nonstop bloomathon.
Yeah.
The space was filled with these beautiful, beautiful red um, peonies, just in such celebration of this accomplishment, this client's accomplishments. And it was so beautiful. And so I shared that with her, and we could neither of us, between the two of us together. I'm describing, she's like, I know the flower, I know the flower. But it was just so amazing how they really wanted to to communicate their joy in the perpetual unfolding of our continuous becoming.
Yeah.
That was really the message that they were bringing in, is that the journey of your unfolding and blooming is endless, and not in a
See?
stressful way, in a
Yeah.
very, just when you think you can't bloom more, you will. And bloom more again and again. And that was what was so specific about that flower and why it
Yeah. See, Daniela, you're already doing the work. That's it.
Ugh,
Right?
I love flowers.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
absolutely, they are
Yeah.
so remarkable, and I love Bach remedies very much. I think
Mhm.
they're tremendously potent.
Mhm.
I love making blends
Yeah.
and
Beautiful.
yeah, and making custom blends for people. So
Yeah.
it just in another lifetime, right? I could just dedicate my whole existence to flowers.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
And I
what
love,
do you paint? Do you paint flowers, or those are your paintings behind you?
they're just what I call process paintings,
Huh.
like that, no plan, what comes up on the paper, and those are some ones. Some of them have flowers in them, some of them actually don't. So yeah. But um yeah, peonies are really special to me as well.
Oh,
Um,
tell me how they're special to you.
mm, they take so long to actually bloom. The bud swells and swells for weeks, right? and they've got those ants that are little protectors and go around and keep them safe. And the peonies actually they make nectar not from inside their flower, but they have extra, they call them nectaries around the base of the flower that makes nectar just for the ants to come and keep them safe and keep the other beetles and stuff from eating them while they slowly open. I mean, it's
Just
this
when I
whole
thought it couldn't get more beautiful.
right. So there's this love story between the ants and the peonies, and they're not really the pollinators of, it's really the bees that pollinate them. But the ants are, they're always there. And then just the way, they open and they open and they open, and then like poof, the next day they're just gone. They're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
gone. Like, okay, we're done.
yeah.
It's all good. We'll be back.
And then because there's another bud that's now in waiting and that you're
Yeah,
tracking.
right. Yeah. And
And
of
an,
course, the fragrance is really rich. Just,
oh,
yeah.
it's remarkable. There's another one that kind of blows me away too. My friend Raina and I, when the weather's nice, we take the dogs on this one road nearby. It's low traffic, and it has these huge rows of honeysuckle. And Raina shared this with me when they were in the peak and the height of the scent. And it's not, from what I understand, is it's not the flowers that have the scent, it's the root system and the stalks and the stems that
Yeah.
the fragrance of honeysuckle.
Well, the flowers do too, because they have that sweet thing. Yeah. But,
But there
but,
was something unique about the
but,
stems and the roots that also
yeah.
contribute to it.
Oh,
I
see,
haven't looked it
and
up.
that's something I didn't know. That's
Well,
fascinating.
I may be, we may
No,
be now
no, no. I'm sure
being
you're
mass.
right.
No, we could have made it up. It could be an urban legend that we've now passed on
No.
to the interwebs.
Yeah.
Um, but
Honeysuckles, they're so exuberant, and some people think they're a weed too, some of them, the Japanese honeysuckle, because they take over everything. But they're just exuberant. They're the kids on the block that are, we would call too much, but you know, they're great. Yeah.
any flower that you found you had to find your appreciation and deeper reverence for, like maybe some came really natural, and kind of like people, some people or animals are like it's like a journey, it's a work in progress.
Right. Yeah.
Is
Well,
there one?
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, my first advice when people start working with the flowers is it's just like, walking into a room full of people at a cocktail party and you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, Scottish
And
this
then,
oh.
yeah. And then, so you finally like feel a connection with somebody and you go over and you're like, and then you're like, you know, find all these connections and it's just wonderful. So, when you're first starting to work with a flower, just, who do you feel a connection with? So there's that, and that's, really easy at the beginning. But then, like you said, other ones that you had to struggle to work with. I'm actually drawn to a lot of, not so attractive flowers lately. It's like, well, what do you have to say? And one of them this summer was a Carolina horse nettle. It's got the nastiest thorns. I mean, it's the weed that grows in my yard all the time. And it's so sticky and prickly. I just didn't even think about it. I still like was yanking it up every time I see it. It's like, you are coming out now before you bloom. And and I finally realized it's like, and they will flower if like when I missed one and they had a flower on it, I'm like, oh, I need to get to know you. After years of pulling up every single one I could possibly try to, and they had a lot to say. Yeah, it was really remarkable, And they're actually related to, they're a nightshade. They make a little teeny fruit that's yellow that's a little bit like a tomato, sort of. Not that you wouldn't eat it, but you can, when you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that's related to a tomato. And
Hmm.
they had a lot to say about, the plants with thorns and the plants that are poisonous. They have a different kind of message and a different kind of, sometimes, not always. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So
What are some of the messages from the lesser loved plants that were really right
let's see.
timing for you?
If you
And
give me a half a second, I'll pull up what Carolina horse nettle said.
sure thing.
Uh, can't remember it off the top of my head.
And
But
for those of you that are here or on replay, I will share the link when we complete our conversation. I'll share the link to both Mary's website for you and to the upcoming course so you can check it out.
thank you. Okay. Carolina horse now. Here it is. They said to me, our fire depends on water, on the flow of life. The red flames of our flowers that burn so brightly are born of the surging waters and currents of love that fuel our passion. Whoops. I'm sorry, this is a cardinal flower. No wonder. I was like, wait, that's not the Carolina horse nettle. Excuse me, it's right below it.
Sure thing.
Ah, resistance builds a wall of fear that hardens your heart and isolates you. Letting go of resistance does not mean you must grasp the thorns in your life head on. Rather, it means that when you encounter them with your strong roots, you will be softer, your heart clear and open, and they will not sting so much.
Mm.
I
Mm.
mean, they had such wisdom to share with me, and they were so forgiving after I'd just been pulling them up out of the ground for years. And this is a good place to also step in and say, just because this is what this plant said to me, it can say something completely different to you. I do feel like, I mean, a family of flowers will sometimes have an overall theme, like I feel like echinacea or coneflowers they're just so tall and straight. There's a lot of strength to them. So, and they often have an overarching message of strength, but the way they present that message to a myriad of different people can be a myriad of different ways. There's not just one message. Back in the Victorian times when they had the language of flowers, and people carried around these books like, well, this is what this flower means if I give it to you. I mean, it was kind of cool in that it um, gave voice to some of this messages and the language of the flowers, but it codified it and, made it into dogma, and nobody used their own intuition to see what the flower was really saying for them. And so that's really another big part of my message is that it's really important to do your own work and develop your own personal connection.
Mhm.
And then, you just go, you get that aha moment, and and there's nothing better than that.
Yeah,
That's when you feel so alive when that happens. Yeah.
that each message is really customized for you. It's an intimate exchange. It's
Right.
personal,
Exactly. Yeah.
specific. Um, let's see. Mary, was there anyone in your childhood that was also very connected to the plant world and flowers, or was this something that really came and found you on its own?
Yeah, just a little bit. When I look back now, my grandmother had a rose garden, and I go visit her, and we'd always get the basket and the colors and go out in the garden and smell the roses and pick some and bring them in the house, and she had some other flowers too. So, but it wasn't like she was, the cool herbal granny. I didn't have one of those. And my dad always liked to work in the yard, and to spend a lot of time helping him plant bushes and bulbs. And I have a cool story. He would supposedly like, oh, we need to go pick some dandelions out of the yard, because that was really at the time when dandelions were, not wanted in your yard. But really what we would end up doing is looking at the dandelions and making wishes and watching the clouds in the sky. And yeah. So I had some of that, but not like I didn't have like a Rosemary Gladstar for a grandmother or anything. So I really, other than a desire to garden, I started gardening in college and haven't ever really quit, even through a lot of tough years where I felt really disconnected. I was always gardening.
Mhm.
Um, and so I just knew that I felt better when I had my hands in the dirt. And and know that what the flowers have saved me. They came and found me, really. Yeah.
And the flowers that the that made the final cut, so to speak, in your oracle deck, were they mainly flowers that were native to your region, or were they flowers from all over? And how did how did they come to you? And like, there's only so many cards in an oracle deck, and yet there's so many flowers on our
Right.
planet. So, what was
Yeah.
that process like?
Well, it was just like, who's reaching out and wants to talk to me? It's back to that same thing. And that's really about all I can, only way I can explain it. It's
Yeah.
there's the ones that stood up and said, me,
Yeah.
and said, and said it the loudest. Yeah.
So they weren't only native to your region, they were really for
They are almost all native to my region. But like there is a mangrove flower because I spend some time in the winter in Florida. And but yeah, there really are, and some of them are garden flowers and some of them are wildflowers. And believe it or not, there's one mushroom because I had this incredible experience with this mushroom. And I just, I don't know, it couldn't say
it had to be
it had to be in
it earned
there.
its place in there, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, they were all either in my yard or in the woods around me. Yeah, they're all ones that I had
Did did
appreciated.
Mullen make its way in there?
No, because I didn't
No.
have any mullein in my yard at the time, and I didn't. I don't know. It would now, but it didn't then. Yeah.
Is it you just love Mullen? What does Mullen what has Mullen communicated with you?
Hmm. Honestly, I don't. It. I haven't sat down and done a formal
I mean, I have a
communication
formal
with
meet and greet
mullein.
with Mullen. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's like there. It's like been calling to me since last summer, and somehow I wasn't home when it was blooming, and yeah, it's
All right,
just
well, we'll
it's
be on the
working its way
lookout.
up the list. Yeah.
Be on the lookout. Yep.
So right now I can just tell you what I like about it, but I haven't really had a deep
Yeah.
connection with it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, look forward to then.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I know, and it's interesting. People come up and ask me like they assume that I know every single flower, and well, and typical question is, "What does this flower mean?" I'm like, so I go into a little speech about, and if it's one I've had a lot of experience with, I might give them a few parameters. But there's so many flowers that I haven't had the time to really sit with yet.
Are there any flowers in particular that you would go to incredible lengths to travel to see or be with, or that you have on your list of?
Pink lady slippers. I've been looking for them. I saw them once when I was like in my early 20s, and I have been looking for them ever since. And they're fairly rare in West Virginia, but they're not unheard of. But anyway, people say, "Oh, there were some in this state park," and I can't find them. And so they're on my bucket list. Oh, what else? There's probably a lot, but that really comes to
Comes to
mind.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have this one in New York State, the Trillium. You know the
Oh, yeah, yeah. We have a
we,
lot of trilliums.
okay, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. You're not supposed to pick them in New York, so I think they're like there's just
No,
not.
same here. Yeah, don't pick them. Yeah.
No, but we have this huge on the Honeysuckle Road that we walk the dogs. When you look in the woods, it is the most enormous Trillium patch.
Oh,
And it's like
wow.
so tightly packed
Yeah.
that the ground is all white for as
Oh,
far as you can see in this one section. It
yeah.
is so exciting to look forward to. So
Yeah.
in the Trillium and the fireflies, it is like
Yeah. Yeah.
morning to night excitement on this one road.
Yeah. That's gorgeous. There's a patch of trout lilies that's like that in my favorite little park that I go to all the time in the spring. Yeah. And it's just this huge patch. So it's this big sea of yellow.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
And they're just like this big community. Like,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Mary, I am so looking forward to the experience in your course that starts on Tuesday, and it's Tuesday evenings. I believe it starts at 7 to 8:30.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
And it's live on Zoom, so it's really always fun to come when you can, friends live. And of course, the replays will be made available if you're not
Yeah, oh,
able.
there are definitely replays if can't make all the sessions. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I thank you so much for creating some space in your day today to join us and to talk about. Oh, wait, before we go, tell us about your upcoming book. That was like birthing a whole being.
It was.
Can you tell us a little bit about when we can look forward to that coming out and um, what you love about this book?
Yeah, thank you, Daniela. It's called The Flowers Are Speaking, A Million-Year Love Story. And it's being published by Tarcher Penguin House and is coming out spring of 2027. And I had started several years ago just, writing a series of, essays, not really even a series. I was just writing blogs and essays and stuff, and they just kept being compelling. And I finally saw the structure for a book and I started writing it. And it's just like the Oracle card deck. It just kept flowing through me and everything kept falling into place. And it's been this slow journey, but really blessed to have found an agent who found a publisher that was really, really interested in it. And I'm just so thrilled that it's coming out into the world. So it's a little bit of it's about our evolutionary love story with the flowers. It's a little bit of my story with the flowers. It's a little bit of the science about the flowers, so keeping all these different parts of our heart and mind interested, as well as it's got tips at the end of each chapter for how to connect with the flowers, everyday tips for connecting with flowers. And then, yeah, so it's very much designed to draw just like I do in my workshop, to draw the reader into working with the flower themselves. And there's a lot of interest. There's been a lot of books out, about connecting with nature, rather Entangled Life that was about the mushrooms, and the books about the trees. And there's another book. There's just a lot of books. There was The Light Eaters. There's a lot of science books too, but this book, is more from the heart with just enough science to keep our minds interested. So I hope it's a blend that pulls together people with science interest and then people with spiritual and heart interest, and really just blends the two and brings out what the flowers really want to share with the world. So
Well, congratulations on the completion
yeah,
of that.
thank you, thank you.
I look forward to
I'm
exploring.
very excited. Yeah,
And in your course, will there be I imagine there'll be some exercises between the live sessions for a
yes, yeah,
practices and
yeah.
some references and resources and things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've got a book list and stuff that I give people, and the worksheet handouts goes home with you, and how to work with the flowers and all of that. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Um, I really appreciate you taking time to be here with us in in this community.
No,
And
I appreciate you inviting me.
thank
Thank
you.
you so much for your support.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's super exciting. And I look forward to see you on Tuesday evening. And I hope some of you here will join us. It's a small, intimate group that's kind of rare in the world of online education. So
Yeah.
it's a really, really sweet opportunity to um I- my sense is that there'll be practice opportunities in the live classes, right, to go through some
There
exercises.
are. Yeah, yeah, we're actually working with the flowers, and the some of the real magic is when everybody that's willing to share what came through for them, and it just makes it even more powerful. And
Mhm.
that's why we want to keep the class size limited so we can have that intimacy.
Yeah. And that's what's beautiful when you come together with a group, messages that come through for one, when shared, really you can feel their messages for everyone. And sometimes someone in the
Yeah,
group can feel the message was as much, if not more for them than it
yeah,
was the person for whom the message originally arrived to. So
exactly. Thank you for expounding on that. Yeah.
that's co-created magic. It really is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, well, Mary, I thank you so much. I wish you a beautiful day. We're going to go gather up wood because we have a cold spell coming for the next 2 weeks. So it's
Yeah.
a high of 24 right now. So while the sun's out and we're
Yeah.
going to gather our logs for the wood stoves for the next 2 weeks. Um, so,
Sounds very, very important. Invigorating too. Yeah.
and I thank you. It's been a
Thank
real
you.
pleasure, real sweet, the sweetness to meet you.
Yeah. Likewise. Really
All
enjoyed it,
right.
Daniela. Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend, Mary. Thank you, friends. I look forward to see you. Well, hopefully some of you are going to be joining us for the Extraordinary Yoga Teacher Summit that starts live on Saturday. And then hopefully I get to see some of you in Mary's class on Tuesday.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Okay, bye for now, everyone. Mary, I'm going to click the button and it's going to make the whole thing go poof. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So thank
All
you.
righty. Okay. Thank you. All righty. Bye-bye.